Last time, Planet Vegeta rose from the dead. With it, billions of Saiyans who never should have seen another sunrise. Goku reunited with Bardock and Jean. Trials filled the grand arena as a new team formed for the Tournament of Power, and Goku's spar with his own father ended in a bone-deep respect neither man expected. Then, Beerus and Whis arrived with a warning that turned celebration into dread. The resurrection had cracked an ancient seal, and something called the Abyssal Vanguard was pouring through a rift in the sky. Their herald, Raisin, nearly erased Goku and Vegeta both, until Vegeta broke into a blinding new form and shattered him. But Raisin was never the threat. He was the door, and through that door came Karn, 100 feet of screaming muscle and dead starlight, calling himself the first, the last, the eater of stars. Now his finger is pointed at the planet, and the light is already dying. The beam didn't look like fire. Fire has color. Fire has heat you can name. What poured off the tip of Karn's finger was neither. It was absence given shape, a corridor of nothing punched clean through the sky, and everywhere it passed, the purple clouds simply stopped existing, as if someone had reached up and erased a drawing mid-stroke. Goku's hand found Vegeta's wrist a half-second before impact. Kaioken, Goku breathed, and the two of them vanished from where they stood, hauling themselves sideways through the air with a violence that cracked the sound barrier twice in the same instant. The beam tore past them close enough that Vegeta's cape, what was left of it, disintegrated into ash. Below, 100 miles of coastline along the southern continent simply ceased. No crater, no fire, no debris, just an absence where a mountain range used to be, the ocean pouring silently into the void left behind, and then even the ocean stopped mid-pour. Gone. That wasn't destruction, Vegeta said, his voice raw, staring at the wound in the world. That was subtraction. You feel it now, the cold before creation. You have lived your entire existence inside a candle flame, little Saiyans. I am the dark that surrounds it. Goku's chest heaved. Even at this distance, hovering a mile from that impossible face, he could feel his strength being pulled toward Karn like water toward a drain. This wasn't key drain the way Raisin had done it. This was worse. This was gravity applied to the soul. Vegeta, Goku's voice had lost every trace of its usual warmth. We can't hit that thing head on. Not yet. Not like this. I am aware, Vegeta snapped, though there was no real anger in it, only the flat, controlled fury of a man doing math he hated the answer to. Look at the shield. Below them, the golden dome over the capital was flickering violently, patches of it going translucent and then black at the edges where the Abyssal Vanguard slammed against it in waves. King Vegeta was on his knees at the center of the city square, both palms flat against the stone, his crown discarded in the dirt beside him, pouring everything he had into the barrier. Sweat cut clean lines through the ash on his face. Around him, in perfect concentric rings, 1,000,000 Saiyan warriors held their hours steady, their faces locked in identical expression of strain. He can't hold that forever, Goku said. He won't, because we are going to buy him the time he needs. Karn's massive head tilted, the motion slow, almost curious, the way a man might study an insect that had just said something unexpected. Buy time. The word seemed to amuse him, in whatever way a god of erasure could be amused. Time is the one currency you do not possess, son of Bardock. I have waited behind that seal longer than your species has existed. I can wait a little longer to finish you. Wait, Goku repeated, and something sharpened behind his eyes. You're not even trying yet. No, Karn agreed, almost gently. I am curious.
Far below, in the shattered ruins outside the capital, where Raisin's body had struck the ground, something stirred in the wreckage. Raisin was not dead. Beings of the void rarely died the way mortal things did. They simply thinned. scattered, waiting to reassemble. His crystalline armor lay in fragments across the crater, but the black mist that was his true form curled lazily upward, gathering itself, drawn like iron filings toward his enormous silhouette of his master hanging in the tortured sky. Master. Raisin's voice rasped, thin and broken into the collective consciousness of the Vanguard. The prince's new form. It should not exist. It burned through everything I threw at it. It does not matter, Karn's mind answered, a whisper compared to the boom of his spoken voice, but somehow more unsettling for it. Let them struggle. Let them believe this is a fight they can win. Hope is the sweetest seasoning. I will let it marinate. The mist that was Raisin shuddered, something almost like fear passing through a being that it thought itself long past feeling it. Down in the capital, Bardock cut a Vanguard warrior in half with a single keyblade formed along his forearm, spun and caught the next one by the throat before it could reach a cluster of civilians sheltering behind a collapsed pillar. "Fall back to the second ring," he bellowed, his voice carrying over the chaos with the same authority it must have carried across 100 battlefields decades ago. "Anyone below elite class, get behind the barrier line, now." A young warrior, barely out of his teens, one of the reconstruction camp fighters who'd earned his place in the trials only that morning, stumbled past him, blood running from a gash above his eye, dragging a wounded comrade by the arm. "Sir, there's too many of them," the boy gasped. "They just keep coming through the rift. We can't." "You can," Bardock cut him off, hauling both of them upright with one hand. "Now, get your friend to the medics and get back here, because I am not carrying this planet on my back alone." The boy blinked at him, something steadying in his face, and nodded before sprinting off. Jinne appeared at Bardock's side in a blur, her palms already glowing, closing a wound along a fallen soldier's ribs, even as she scanned the sky with open terror. "Bardock, that thing in the clouds, Goku and Vegeta are still up there." "I know." "They can't fight that." "I know that too." Bardock's jaw was a hard line. He'd grabbed her wrist, not roughly, just enough to make her look at him instead of the sky. "Jinne, listen to me. Right now, our job isn't to win this fight. It's to make sure there's still a planet standing when they figure out how." Behind them, King Vegeta's voice cracked through gritted teeth, still kneeling, still pouring his soul into stone. "Bardock, the eastern flank, the shield is thinning there. I need bodies, not heroics, on it." Bardock was already moving. High above, Goku's fists were a blur of gold and blue, striking every angle of Karn's colossal form he could reach. His forearm, the edge of his jaw, the thick cords of his neck. Each blow landed with the force to level a city. Each blow did absolutely nothing. "You hit like something that believes itself alive," Karn observed, almost fondly, as Goku bounced off his shoulder like a stone off a mountain. "It is endearing." Vegeta came in from the opposite side, his transcendent white and crimson aura screaming as he drove a full-power final crusher into the side of Karn's skull. The impact split the air for miles, sent a shockwave rolling out that flattened storm clouds in every direction. Karn didn't even turn his head. "Damn it," Vegeta snarled, wrenching back, cradling his own arm. The bones in his forearm had fractured on impact, the recoil of hitting something that dense finally catching up with him. "Yeah," Goku panted, hovering a safe distance off, blood dripping from a split lip. "He's not just strong, he's heavier than strength should allow, like hitting the concept of a wall instead of the wall itself." "That's disgusting," Goku said, and despite everything, despite the blood and the exhaustion and the impossible math of the fight in front of him, there was something in his voice that was almost his old grin trying to surface. "You're basically a cosmic garbage disposal that learned to talk."
Vegeta actually laughed. A short, sharp bark of a thing, entirely without humor, but a laugh nonetheless. Only you, Kakarot, would insult a god mid-annihilation. Mockery, Karn rumbled, and for the first time something like genuine interest flickered behind those twin burning suns of eyes. It has been a long time since anything mocked me. The last ones who tried, I wore their world as a ring. He closed his fist. The black light collapsed inward with a sound like the universe swallowing. Let us see if you have earned the same honor. Far to the west, beyond the edge of the capital's defensive ring, three figures dropped out of the sky in near-perfect unison. Piccolo landed first, his cape snapping in the entropy-fouled wind, his eyes already narrowed against the wrongness in the air. Beside him, Gohan touched down with the quiet, coiled calm of a man who had once been the strongest fighter in the universe and had never quite let go of the instincts that came with it. And a step behind them both, Broly, massive, silent, his green-black aura simmering just beneath the surface like a bank of thunderheads waiting for permission, set foot on Saiyan soil for what felt to him like the very first time that actually meant something. "Do you feel that?" Gohan asked, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sky itself seemed to be bleeding black. "Hard not to," Piccolo said grimly. "It's like standing next to a hole in existence. Whatever that thing is, it isn't fighting Goku and Vegeta, it's studying them." Broly said nothing, but his fists had already clenched, the knuckles cracking like breaking stone. He had spent so much of his life as a weapon pointed by someone else's hand. Here, now, on this world that had somehow impossibly welcomed him instead of fearing him, the rage building in his chest for once had somewhere honest to go. "Chilai and Limo are helping evacuate the outer settlements," Gohan said, glancing at Broly. "You didn't have to come." Broly's answer was simple. "This is home now." A pause, then quieter. "I protect it." Piccolo allowed himself the smallest, grimmest smile. "Then let's go make sure it's still here to protect." Whis' staff tapped the ground of the observation platform at the edge of the palace, and the air around him shimmered, a soft blue projection blooming to life above the polished stone, a view of the battle high above, Karn's colossal form filling half the sky. Beerus stood beside him, tail lashing, ears flat against his skull, watching with an expression that had abandoned its usual bored contempt sometime in the last 10 minutes. "This is bad," Beerus said, which was practically a scream of alarm. "It is worse than bad, my lord," Whis said, his tone carefully even, the way it was when the truth underneath was anything but calm. "Karn is not simply strong, he is a remnant of the era before the 12 universes stabilized, before the balance of creation and destruction was properly divided. Things like him are why that division became necessary in the first place. You're telling me this thing predates the Xeno. I am telling you that things like him are the reason the current Xeno's predecessor decided 12 universes, carefully measured and carefully destroyed when necessary, was safer than the alternative. Karn is not a god of destruction, Lord Beerus. He is what destruction looked like before anyone learned to control it." Beerus was silent for a long moment, watching Vegeta's transcendent aura flare and gutter against that colossal black shape. "Can Goku and Vegeta beat him? Not as they are now," Whis said. His staff tapped once, thoughtfully against the stone. "But there is something in their favor that Karn does not account for." "And that is?" Whis smiled, faint and knowing, the way he did when he was about to say something that sounded like a riddle and was, in fact, entirely literal. He has never fought a Saiyan who had something left to lose. Every world he has unmade, he unmade quickly, before its people understood what stubbornness could do. This world, he gestured almost fondly at the golden shield straining beneath 1,000,000 warriors' combined will, understands stubbornness rather well. Beerus's ear twitched. That's not a plan, Whis. That's a hope. With respect, my lord, Whis said, watching the light flare and fight against the dark. So was the plan to bring them all back in the first place. The black light Karn had gathered detonated outward, not as a beam this time, but as a sphere, expanding in all directions at once, a bubble of absolute unmaking racing to swallow both Saiyans whole. There was no dodging it. It didn't move through space so much as redefine which space still existed.
Vegeta! Goku didn't think. He grabbed his rival by the collar of his ruined gi and slammed both of their auras together, forcing every scrap of ki he had left into a single desperate shield. Gold and blue and white fused into one impossible, screaming wall of light. The black sphere hit them. For one endless silent second, the entire sky went dark, as if the sun itself had been swallowed. Then, with a sound like the universe grinding its teeth, the sphere shattered around them, unable to fully close over the combined light of two Saiyans who, in that instant, refused with every fiber of their being to disappear. They fell, not thrown, fell, the strength gone out of both of them at once, plummeting through the ruined sky toward the cratered earth below, their auras flickering and dying like guttering candles. Karn watched them fall with something that might have been the first genuine surprise he had shown all day. Interesting, he said quietly, and the quiet was somehow more terrifying than the boom had been. Let us correct that. They hit the ground outside the capital's western wall hard enough to crater a quarter-mile of scorched earth, skidding to a stop, tangled together at the bottom of the impact site, both of them barely conscious, blood and ash mixing on their skin. Vegeta, Vecna rasped, forcing one eye open. Kakarot, get up. I'm working on it. Goku groaned and somehow found the strength to laugh, a weak, wheezing thing. You're heavier than you look, you know that, says the man who just used me as a battering ram against a... The ground shook. Both of them looked up. A massive black shadow fell across the crater as Karn's colossal palm descended from the sky, filling their entire field of vision, blotting out what remained of the light, moving with the unhurried, absolute certainty of something that had never once needed to rush. There was no time to fly, no time to gather ki, no time for anything at all. And then, from the ruined tree line at the crater's edge, three shapes moved. Piccolo's stretched, elongated arm shot forward, wrapping around both fallen Saiyans and yanking them sideways half a heartbeat before Karn's palm crashed down, obliterating the crater into a smoking mile-wide scar in the earth. Gohan landed beside them, breathing hard, already scanning the sky with wide, calculating eyes. Broly stood a few paces further out, his aura finally unleashed in full, a boiling green-black corona that turned the ash-choked air around him to shimmering heat. You two look terrible, Piccolo said, setting Goku and Vegeta down with more gentleness than his tone suggested. Piccolo, Goku wheezed, genuine relief cracking through the exhaustion in his voice. Someone had to save you before your own stubbornness finished the job Karn started. Piccolo's eyes never left the sky, where the colossal figure was straightening back up, unbothered, seemingly amused by the sudden appearance of new toys. More of you. Karn observed. The Namekian, the half-breed, and his burning gaze fixed on Broly, and for the first time since he'd emerged from the rift, something in his ancient voice shifted, sharpened, took on an edge of genuine attention. Ah, now that is interesting. A rage that has no bottom. I have not tasted something like you in an age. Broly's eyes narrowed, his fists tightened at his sides, and for one heartbeat, the green light around him flickered dangerously toward something wilder, older, hungrier. Broly, Gohan said quietly, not looking away from the sky, but the warning in his voice was clear. Not yet. We fight smart or we don't fight at all. Broly's jaw clenched, the wild light dimmed, banked, held, barely. Understood, he said, low and rough, and the single word cost him more control than anyone standing there could fully appreciate. Vegeta forced himself up onto one knee, cradling his shattered forearm, sweat and blood streaking down a face that refused, even now, to show anything but contempt for its own weakness. This is not a fight for 5 warriors. Vegeta's voice hearsed but steady. Whatever that thing is, it doesn't tire, it doesn't fear, and it clearly enjoys watching us struggle. We need more than strength. Then what do we need? Gohan asked. Vegeta's dark eyes lifted, fixing on the impossible silhouette hanging over their world, block out the setting sun. A plan, he said, and time we don't have. Above them, Karn's massive head tilted once more, considering the small cluster of warriors gathered on the smoking earth below, like a man idly deciding which piece to move next on a board he already believed he had won. Take your time, he said, and somewhere in that ancient grinding voice was something that might, in a being capable of joy, have almost been delight. The black light began gathering in his palm once more, slower this time, deliberate, cruelly patient, and far above the golden dome protecting 1,000,000 huddled lives, the sky itself seemed to hold its breath, because Karn was not simply preparing another attack. He was choosing, for the very first time since he had clawed his way back into existence, exactly where he wanted to strike next, and every warrior on that battlefield understood in the marrow-deep silence that followed that whatever he chose would change everything that came after. You, Karn said last, and his burning gaze had settled unmistakably on Broly. Gohan's head snapped toward him. Broly, don't! Too late. The green-black aura around Broly had already stopped simmering and started to boil. Something in him, some part shaped by years of being pointed at things and told to break them, heard God calling him out by threat instead of name, and answered the only way he knew. He was gone before anyone could stop him, a streak of jade light tearing straight up into the ruined sky, roaring as he went.
Broly, wait! Piccolo's shout was lost in the shockwave of his own launch. Karn's massive hand was already moving to meet him, almost lazy, almost bored. The same unhurried gesture he'd used to erase a mountain range minutes earlier. But Broly didn't meet the palm head-on. At the last possible instant, his trajectory bent, impossibly sharp, and he drove both fists into the underside of Karn's wrist instead, redirecting the full weight of that colossal arm off its line. For the first time since he had emerged from the rift, Karn's arm actually moved somewhere he hadn't intended it to. Oh, Karn said, and for once there was no mockery in the syllable at all. That is new. Broly didn't answer. He didn't need words for this. He drove upward again, a full-body strike that connected with the base of Karn's jaw hard enough to snap the giant's head back a visible fraction of an inch. Not damage, not really, but movement. The first involuntary flinch anyone had wrung out of him all day. Down on the smoking earth, Vegito watched with narrowed eyes. His rage isn't strength the way ours is. It doesn't build, it doesn't transform. It's just force, pure straight-line force with nothing underneath it to run out. Which means he can't sustain it either, Gohan said grimly. Broly burns hot,
but he burns fast. If Karn realizes that, he didn't get to finish the thought. Karn's free hand shot out and closed around Broly's entire body like a child snatching a fly out of the air. There was no struggle in the motion, no visible effort. 1 second, Broly was a blur of green fury hammering at an ancient god, and the next he was simply caught, swallowed inside a fist the size of a cathedral. Enough playing, Karn rumbled, and squeezed. The scream that came out of that fist wasn't pain, it was rage, pure and undiluted, and the pressure of it built so fast and so violently that the fist itself began to crack along invisible seams of black crystal, light bleeding out between Karn's fingers in furious green shafts. He's going to kill him, Gohan breathed. No, Vegeta said, watching those cracks spread. He's about to find out why nobody in 3 universes has ever wanted to be the one holding Broly down. The fist exploded, not from an attack, from pressure. Broly's aura detonated outward in a single world-shaking pulse, tearing Karn's massive hand open from the inside, sending fragments of crystalline void flesh raining down across the wasteland like black hail. Karn reeled backward for the first time, an honest, unscripted stagger, his colossal form rocking against the sky as a section of his own hand hung in ruin, smoking with green fire. You, Karn's voice cracked, actual disbelief threaded through the ancient boom of it. You damaged me. Broly hung in the air where the fist had been, breathing hard, his aura guttering low after the effort, and his eyes, for just a moment, flickering back towards something almost gentle before the fury reasserted itself. He said nothing. He didn't need to. The wound smoking on Karn's hand said everything that had to be said. Down at the ground level, the shift in the sky did not go unnoticed. King Vegeta's eyes, fixed for the last hour on nothing but the trembling gold of the barrier beneath his palms, flicked upward for the first time since the fighting began. He watched a piece of the enemy actually fall, watched Karn's colossal form rock backward under an honest blow, and something in his chest, something he had not allowed himself to feel since the day Frieza's ship first darkened this planet's sky decades ago, loosened just slightly. "Bardock," he called, his voice tight with strain but carrying clearly across the square. "Status." Bardock skidded to a halt beside him, blood sheeting down one arm from a gash he hadn't had time to notice. "Eastern flank's holding, barely. We lost 11 fighters, no civilians. Whatever's happening up there just bought us breathing room. The ones still coming through the rift slowed down the second their master flinched." He looked up, following the king's gaze. "They're not just soldiers, they're an extension of him. When he wavers, they waver." "Then that is our opening." King Vegeta's jaw set, and despite the sweat carving lines through the ash on his face, despite his arms trembling with the effort of holding a barrier together with raw will, something of the old absolute authority came back into his voice. "Whis, how much longer until the shield can hold itself without me?" Whis, watching the projection above the platform with Beerus at his side, allowed himself the faintest approving smile. "Another 20 minutes of synchronized output should stabilize the lattice permanently, my lord. After that, the warriors maintaining it can do so indefinitely without your direct involvement." 20 minutes, King Vegeta repeated, and turned his gaze back up to the battle raging in the ruined sky, to his son's transcendent aura, and Kakarot's stubborn refusal to stay down, and the wild green fire of a warrior this planet had, until 3 days ago, never even met. "Then we give them 20 minutes. Bardock, reinforce the eastern flank. I want every warrior above mid-class rotated into that line before the Vanguard realizes their master just bled." Bardock was already moving. "You heard the king. Reserve squadrons, eastern wall, now." Guinea caught his sleeve as he passed, worry and fierce pride warring openly across her face. "Bardock." "I know," he said, and for once there was nothing gruff in it at all. "I'll come back. I always do." He was gone in a blur of gold light before she could answer, and Guinea stood a moment longer watching the impossible battle in the sky before turning back to the wounded still streaming in behind her. High above, Karn flexed the ruined remains of his hand, watching the smoke curl off the wound with something between fascination and genuine ancient anger. It has been a very long time since anything left a mark on me that healed before the echo of the blow faded. He looked down, past Broly, past Goku and Vegeta struggling back to their feet on the cratered earth, past Gohan and Piccolo watching with grim, calculating eyes, down to the golden dome still holding, however precariously, over the capital of a species he had already decided didn't deserve to exist. Perhaps I have been underestimating this world. Let us see what is left of it when I stop. The sky itself seemed to buckle inward around him, the purple clouds for 100 miles in every direction folding toward his growing light like water circling a drain, and on the ground below every warrior, Bardock, King Vegeta, Guinea, the wounded and the whole alike, felt the same cold absolute certainty settled over them at once. Whatever Karn had been doing until now, it had only ever been a test. The real fight hadn't started yet. The corona of black light expanding around Karn didn't just illuminate the sky, it unmade it. Where the dark energy touched the purple clouds, they didn't burn or dissipate, they simply lost the memory of being clouds. The sky above Planet Vegeta began to peel away in jagged geometric shards, revealing a terrifying starless void beneath. The sun was still there, but its light was being swallowed, bent around Karn's massive form like water flowing around a stone. Gravity itself began to stutter. Goku felt his stomach lurch as the concept of down temporarily forgot which way it was supposed to pull. He drifted upward an inch before slamming back down, his boots cracking the scorched earth. Beside him, Vegeta cursed, his transcendent aura flaring violently to anchor himself to the planet's magnetic field. He's not just gathering energy, Vegeta snarled, his eyes darting across the shifting, impossible geometry of the battlefield. He's altering the local physics. He's turning the atmosphere into a vacuum of non-existence. I am the canvas, Karn's voice grated, vibrating through the bedrock, through their bones, through the very air they were trying to breathe. You are merely the paint, and I am tired of your colors. High above, Broly was still suspended in the air, his green-black aura roaring against the encroaching dark. He saw the sky breaking, he saw the planet dying, and the gentle, controlled warrior who had learned to live on Vampa was gone. In his place was the legend, the calamity. Broly opened his mouth and a roar tore from his throat that didn't just shake the air, it shattered the remaining glass in the capital city 50 miles below. His hair flared from green to a blinding incandescent gold. The legendary Super Saiyan had fully awakened. He didn't fly at Karn, he teleported, tearing a hole in space through sheer kinetic force, reappearing directly inside Karn's guard. Broly's fists became a blur of golden meteors, striking Karn's chest, his ribs, his throat. Each impact rang out like a massive bell, the shockwaves carving trenches into the earth miles below. Karn didn't block, he didn't dodge, he simply stood there, taking the blows, his burning sun eyes fixed on the tiny, furious Saiyan battering against his chest. Rage, Karn mused, his voice eerily calm amidst the hurricane of Broly's assault. It is a fascinating flaw. It burns bright, but it consumes its vessel. Let me show you what lies beyond the flame. Karn's chest suddenly caved in, not from a strike. The void matter of his body simply inverted, creating a localized singularity right where Broly's fists were impacting. The gravitational pull was instantaneous and absolute. Broly's momentum was hijacked, his fists pulled past Karn's chest, his body yanked forward into Karn's embrace. Karn's arms, thick as redwood trunks, wrapped around Broly. Sleep, Karn whispered. The black mist of Karn's body surged forward, enveloping Broly entirely. The golden aura of the legendary Super Saiyan flared one last time, a desperate, blinding supernova of light, and then it was snuffed out. Broly vanished, swallowed into the void matter of Karn's torso. Broly! Gohan's scream tore through the comms, raw and terrified. On the ground, Piccolo's eyes widened. He didn't kill him. He absorbed him. He's trying to digest his ki. Then we break him open, Vegeta snapped. He looked at Goku, his mind racing through the tactical nightmare. Kakarot, physical attacks are useless. Energy attacks feed him. Broly's raw force only delayed him. We need to hit him with something he can't consume. Goku wiped blood from his chin, his silver Ultra Instinct hair flickering as he fought to maintain the form against the gravity distortions. Like what, Vegeta? He eats stars. What's left? Vegeta's eyes narrowed, a dangerous, brilliant light sparking in them. We don't hit his body. We hit his concept. We hit the void with the one thing it can't digest. Which is creation, Vegeta said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. Pure, unadulterated, concentrated life. We need to overload its erasure with so much existence that it chokes on it. Before Goku could answer, the ground beneath them violently heaved. 50 miles below, the capital city was screaming. The golden dome of the shield was no longer just flickering, it was screaming. A high-pitched, agonizing whine of overtaxed energy filled the air, making teeth ache and ears bleed. The sky above was peeling away in black shards, and the ambient temperature in the city had dropped to freezing. Frost crept up the sides of the royal palace. At the center of the square, King Vegeta was dying. Blood streamed from his nose, his eyes, his ears. His arms were locked in a rigid, trembling V shape. His fingers dug so deeply into the stone plaza that his nails had shattered. He was pouring his life force directly into the lattice, burning through decades of stored energy in a matter of minutes. Around him, the million warriors were falling. One by one, their auras guttered out, and they collapsed, unconscious from key exhaustion. The concentric rings were breaking. The shield was thinning, turning from gold to a sickly, translucent yellow. "Your Majesty!" Bardock yelled, landing hard beside the king. Bardock's armor had melted, his face a mask of ash and blood. "The lattice is collapsing! We're losing the eastern quadrant!" King Vegeta didn't open his eyes. He couldn't. If he broke his concentration for a microsecond, the shield would shatter. "Hold the line, Bardock," he gasped, his voice a wet, ragged wheeze. "If the shield falls, the Vanguard will slaughter the civilians. Buy the prince's time." Bardock looked up at the sky. He saw the black mist swallowing Broly. He saw Goku and Vegeta powerless. He saw the sky literally breaking apart. He looked back at the king, then at the eastern wall, where a massive, writhing mass of Vanguard warriors was coalescing into a siege beast, a towering, multi-limbed horror of black crystal, preparing to ram the thinning shield. Bardock's jaw set. The old, fatalistic calm of the man who had died on Namek washed over him, but this time it wasn't the calm of a man expecting to die. It was the calm of a man who had decided he was going to live. "Genie!" Bardock roared, his voice cutting through the panic of the square. Genie looked up from a wounded soldier, her hands glowing with healing light. "Bardock? Get the king's medical team ready. When this shield drops, he's going to need it." Bardock turned to the remaining standing warriors, maybe 10,000 left, battered, bleeding, but still breathing. "You heard the king. We need to buy time, but we're not going to do it from behind the wall." The Saiyan stared at him. To go outside the shield was suicide. The air out there was toxic with void mist. The Vanguard would tear them apart. Bardock drew his key, his aura flaring into a brilliant, defiant gold. "The shield is failing because we're only defending. Saiyans don't just defend, we attack. We're going to break that siege beast from the outside, shatter its formation, and buy the princes the 3 minutes they need."
A young warrior, the same kid Bardock had saved earlier, Leek, stepped forward. His legs were shaking, but his eyes were fierce. "We'll follow you, Commander." Bardock gave a sharp, grim nod. "Form up, Delta formation. We punch a hole in the eastern wall, we hit the beast, and we fall back before the hole closes. Move!" 10,000 Saiyans roared, a sound of pure, unadulterated defiance, and launched themselves into the air. They didn't fly towards the sky. They flew towards the eastern wall. Inside the palace observation deck, Beerus watched the projection, his tail still. They're going outside the shield. They'll be exposed to the raw void. Their ki will be drained in seconds. Not if they burn it all at once, Whis said softly, his eyes reflecting the golden light of the charging army. Look at them, my lord. They aren't fighting to survive anymore. They are fighting to win. There is a profound difference. Outside the eastern wall, the air was a nightmare. The moment the Saiyans crossed the threshold of the failing shield, the void mist hit them. It was like flying through liquid ice. Goku's warriors gasped as they felt their life force being siphoned, their auras shrinking, their muscles burning. But they didn't slow down. Bardock took the point, his keyblade extended, cutting a swath through the lower-tier Vanguard drones. Behind him, the 10,000 warriors unleashed a synchronized barrage of ki blasts, a river of golden light that slammed into the towering siege beast. The beast shrieked, a sound of grinding metal and tearing flesh, as a new figure arose. It wasn't a mindless drone, it was a Vanguard commander. Tall, sleek, clad in armor that seemed to absorb the light, wielding a spear of pure condensed void, Rasen's successor. The commander didn't speak, it simply raised its spear and thrust it forward. A wave of black energy, silent and invisible, swept across the battlefield. It didn't explode, it just passed through the first rank of Saiyan warriors. When the wave passed, 300 Saiyans simply stopped flying. Their auras vanished, their eyes went blank, they fell from the sky like stones, their life force entirely erased. Bardock's blood ran cold. Scatter! Evasive maneuvers! Don't let him line up a shot! But the commander was already moving, a blur of black mist, appearing in the center of the Saiyan formation. Its spear spun, a whirlwind of erasure that began to reap the warriors like wheat. Bardock roared, diving at the commander, his fist pulled back, channeling every ounce of his remaining ki into a single desperate strike. Get away from my son's people! His fist connected with the commander's spear. The impact created a shockwave that blew the void mist away for a mile, but the commander didn't flinch. The black mist flowed up Bardock's arm, eating at his ki, freezing his muscles. The commander tilted its featureless head, and for the first time, a voice echoed in Bardock's mind. It was Rasen's voice, cold and mocking. The blood of the low-class warrior, still so fragile, still so desperate. Bardock's eyes widened, the sheer insulting arrogance of it, the memory of Frieza's laugh, the memory of dying in the dirt, helpless while his planet burned. Something inside Bardock snapped. Not his spirit, his limits. You want my blood? Bardock whispered, his voice trembling with a rage so pure it made the air around him ignite. Take it! His aura didn't just flare, it detonated. His gold turned a deep, violent crimson. His muscles swelled, tearing his armor. His hair stood on end, blazing like a bloody sun. He hadn't transformed into a Super Saiyan. He'd pushed his base form so far past its limits that his very biology was rewriting itself. Bardock drove his fist forward. This time, the commander's spear shattered. The impact caught the Vanguard commander in the chest, punching clean through its crystalline armor and erupting out its back in a geyser of golden light and black ash. The commander dissolved into mist, screaming silently as it faded into nothing. Bardock landed on the ground, his crimson aura fading, his body swaying. He fell to one knee, gasping, blood pouring from his mouth. Leek and the remaining warriors landed around him, forming a protective circle. "Commander!" Leek cried, reaching for him. Bardock held up a trembling hand. "I'm fine, kid," he wheezed, wiping his mouth. He looked up at the sky. The black shards were still falling. The siege beast was dead, but the war wasn't over. "Just give me a minute, then we go back in." High above, the sky was almost entirely gone. The starless void pressed down on the planet, a crushing, suffocating weight. The only light left in the world was the golden dome of the
shield, the blazing aura of the Z-fighters, and the terrifying, cold light of Karn. Inside Karn's chest, Broly was fighting. The void was trying to digest him, trying to unravel his ki and add his mass to Karn's own. But Broly's rage was not just energy. It was a physical, conceptual force. Inside the dark, suffocating space of Karn's body, a tiny point of green light refused to go out. Karn paused, his massive hand coming to rest on his chest. His burning eyes narrowed. "Annoying," he rumbled. He raised his other hand, preparing to crush his own chest, to physically compress the void and snuff out Broly's light.
"No, you don't." Gohan intercepted him. The half-Saiyan didn't just fly, he rode a wave of pure, blinding white light. He had tapped into the energy of the million warriors below, drawing on their collective will, their stubbornness, their refusal to die. His ultimate form had evolved. His muscles were denser, his aura a blinding pearlescent white that pushed back the void mist. Gohan slammed into Karn's raised arm, driving his shoulder into the giant's elbow, forcing the hand away from his chest.
"Piccolo, now!"
Gohan screamed. Piccolo, who had been hovering silently, suddenly expanded. But he didn't just grow to his standard giant size. He drew upon the Namekian connection to the planet itself. His body merged with the bedrock below, his mass increasing 1,000-fold, his skin turning to living stone. He became a titan of Earth, 300 feet tall, his arms wrapping around Karn's legs.
"Get off me, insect!"
Karn snarled, trying to shake the giant Namekian off.
"I'm not an insect."
Piccolo's voice boomed, echoing from the earth itself.
"I'm the ground you're standing on."
Piccolo tightened his grip, his massive stone fingers digging into Karn's void flesh. The black mist hissed, trying to erode Piccolo's stone form, but Piccolo constantly regenerated, drawing mass from the planet's crust. He was anchoring Karn, holding him in place.
"Goku! Vegeta! Do it now!"
Gohan yelled, pouring all his power into a relentless barrage against strikes against Karn's face, keeping the giant's attention fixed on him. Goku and Vegeta hovered a mile away. They weren't powering up, they were doing something much more dangerous. They were syncing their heartbeats. "We only have one shot at this," Vegeta said, his voice eerily calm. "If we miss the conceptual frequency, he'll eat the blast and add our souls to his collection." "I know," Goku said. His eyes were closed. He was feeling the rhythm of the planet, the rhythm of the million warriors below, the rhythm of Broly's raging heart inside Karn's chest. Goku cupped his hands at his side, but he didn't gather ki from the atmosphere. He gathered the ambient life force of the planet, the residual energy of the shield, the sheer stubborn will of the Saiyan race. Vegeta mirrored Goku, his hands cupped, his crimson and gold aura weaving into Goku's silver and blue. The energy between their hands didn't form a sphere. It formed a tiny, impossibly dense point of light. It was no bigger than a marble, but it weighed as much as a mountain. It was a singularity of pure creation. "Final," they began, their voices overlapping, harmonizing into a single dual-toned resonance that shook the very foundations of the universe. Karn felt it. For the first time since he had emerged from the rift, the god of Erasure felt a flicker of genuine primal fear. The tiny point of light between the two Saiyans' hands was anathema to his existence. It was the Big Bang compressed into a marble.
"Enough!"
Karn roared. He abandoned trying to shake off Piccolo. He abandoned trying to digest Broly. He brought both his massive hands together, gathering the entirety of his void mass into a single concentrated sphere of absolute zero at his chest.
"I am the end of all things," Karn bellowed, thrusting his hands forward, firing a beam of pure, unadulterated erasure directly at Goku and Vegeta. "Kamehameha!"
The black beam and the tiny marble of light met in the space between them. There was no explosion, there was no shockwave when the concept of absolute erasure met the concept of absolute creation. The universe simply paused. The sound died, the light died, the gravity died. For one infinite, terrifying second,
Time itself stopped. Then the marble shattered, but it didn't shatter outward, it shattered inward. The tiny point of creation pierced Karn's beam of erasure, traveling up the stream of black energy, moving faster than light, faster than thought. It struck Karn squarely in the center of his chest. The giant froze. The black beam sputtered and died. The void mist around him stopped swirling. Karn looked down at his chest. There was no wound, there was no blood, but beneath his skin, a tiny, blindingly bright point of golden light was pulsing. What? Karn's voice was a whisper, stripped of all his ancient power. What have you done? Goku lowered his hands, falling to his knees in the air, completely drained. Vegeta collapsed beside him, his transcendent form dropping, his body entirely spent. We gave you a heart, Goku gasped, a bloody smile touching his lips. The golden light inside Karn's chest began to spread. It wasn't burning him, it was overwriting him. The void matter of his body began to turn gold, then white, then transparent. Inside his chest, Broly's green aura finally broke through Karn's chest, erupting from his back in a massive geyser of light. Broly burst out of the giant's chest, covered in golden slime, roaring in triumph. Karn staggered back, his massive form flickering, losing his cohesion. The concept of erasure was being overwritten by the concept of life. He was being forced to exist, and for a being made of nothing, existence was agony. No! Karn screamed, his voice fracturing into 1,000 overlapping echoes. I am the void. I am the silence. I cannot be filled. You're not the void anymore, Gohan said, landing beside Goku and Vegeta, his white aura flaring. Karn's massive form began to crack. Fissures of golden light spread across his skin, his eyes, his armor. He was a star going supernova in reverse, collapsing under the weight of his own newly acquired mass. But as he cracked, the rift in the sky above him began to pulse. The void mist pouring from the rift didn't stop. It accelerated. It was being drawn toward Karn, trying to replenish his failing form, trying to pull the planet into the rift to feed him. The sky tore open wider. The gravitational pull became immense. The golden shield below flickered, groaning under the new pressure. King Vegeta screamed as the lattice began to shatter. He's not dying, Piccolo yelled, shrinking back down to normal size, landing hard beside the others. He's using the rift to pull the planet in. If he consumes the planet, he'll regenerate. Goku forced himself to his feet, his legs shaking. He looked at the massive cracking form of Karn and then up at the widening rift in the sky. We didn't finish it, Goku said, his voice tight. Vegeta pushed himself up, wiping blood from his chin. His eyes were hard, calculating, and utterly devoid of fear. No, we just forced him to show us his anchor, the rift. As long as the rift is open, he can't die. Goku looked at Vegeta. Vegeta looked at Goku. They didn't need to speak. They both knew what had to be done. They reached into their pouches. Goku pulled out a single cracked Potara earring. It had been damaged in the fight with Karn, a hairline fracture running down the golden surface. Vegeta pulled out the other. It was pristine. If we fuse with a broken earring, his voice deadly serious, the fusion might not hold. It could tear us apart. It could kill us. Goku smiled, a fierce, battle-hungry grin that belonged entirely to a Saiyan facing the end of the world. Since when has that ever stopped us? Above them, Karn let out a final, world-shaking roar, his form beginning to reform as the void mist poured into his cracks. The rift in the sky widened, a massive, swirling maw of absolute darkness, ready to consume Planet Vegeta. Goku placed the broken earring on his left ear. Vegeta placed the pristine earring on his right. The golden light of their auras flared one last time, blending together, spiraling upward into the dying sky. The final battle for Planet Vegeta hadn't even begun.
That is for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe my channel.